If you have a prolactinoma, here's probably where you're at. You've been diagnosed, you're on cabergoline, your prolactin is being managed. Every 6 months or so, you go back, they check your levels, maybe repeat an MRI, and you're told things are stable, come back in 6 months, and that's it. That's the plan. What most people with a prolactinoma are never told is that there's something they could be doing in the meantime, something with peer-reviewed science behind it, a strong safety profile, and mechanisms that are directly relevant to the biology of their specific tumor. Let's look at what the science actually says. Curcumin is the active compound in turmeric, what gives it that bright yellow color. It's been used in traditional medicine for thousands of years, and modern research is now working out the precise molecular reasons why. Before we go further, an important distinction. The turmeric in your kitchen and a therapeutic curcumin supplement are not the same thing. Culinary turmeric contains around 2 to 5% curcumin. A therapeutic supplement is standardized to 95% curcuminoids. You'd need roughly 60 teaspoons of turmeric daily to match a single therapeutic dose. A curry isn't going to cut it. You need a standardized extract, and you need something else alongside it, but we'll come back to that. To understand why curcumin is worth paying attention to, for prolactinoma specifically, you need to understand what your tumor is actually doing. Your prolactinoma is made up of lactotroph cells, the pituitary cells responsible for producing prolactin. In a prolactinoma, these cells have undergone changes that cause them to multiply uncontrollably and produce prolactin in excess. They've done 3 things to make themselves nearly impossible to get rid of. They've switched off the normal brakes on cell division, so they multiply continuously. They've disabled their own self-destruct mechanism, so they don't die the way they should. And they overproduce prolactin constantly, which drives the symptoms associated with elevated prolactin. Cabergoline works by suppressing prolactin and slowing tumor growth through the dopamine receptor. It's effective, but it doesn't restore the tumor cell's self-destruct mechanism. And in the majority of patients who stop taking it, prolactin levels rise again. This is where curcumin becomes worth paying attention to, because it targets all 3 simultaneously. Here's what that looks like in practice. A protein called cyclin D3 keeps the accelerator permanently floored, driving continuous cell division. It does this by inactivating your retinoblastoma protein, which is normally the brake, leaving the cell in permanent go. Curcumin suppresses cyclin D3 and restores that brake. The research showed a robust, dose-dependent inhibitory effect on prolactinoma cell proliferation. And here's the part that stood out to researchers. The effect persisted even after curcumin was removed. The brake stays on. Your tumor cells have essentially made themselves immortal. They've done this by overproducing a family of survival proteins, BCL2 and BCLXL, that block the signal that would normally tell a damaged or abnormal cell to die. Every cell in your body is supposed to have a self-destruct mechanism called apoptosis. Your prolactinoma cells have switched it off. Curcumin attacks this from 2 directions at once. It activates the proteins that initiate cell death, Bax, Puma, Noxa, while simultaneously stripping away the survival proteins that have been blocking those signals. The shield comes down, the cells start dying. Normal healthy cells appear significantly less vulnerable because curcumin is exploiting the specific abnormalities that make tumor cells different. It's not a blunt instrument. Beyond stopping proliferation and triggering cell death, curcumin also directly suppresses how much prolactin each individual tumor cell produces. The research showed significant reduction in both intracellular prolactin levels and prolactin secretion from pituitary tumor cells. Think about what that means together. Fewer tumor cells and less prolactin from each cell that remains. It's working the problem from both ends. A 2021 study in molecular neurobiology, it's in the description if you want to check it, looked at what happened when curcumin was combined with a dopamine agonist in prolactinoma cells. The result, curcumin significantly enhanced the growth inhibitory and apoptotic effect of the drug. The two together caused substantially more tumor cell death than either alone. The study used bromocriptine, an older drug largely replaced by cabergoline today. Whether the same synergy applies to cabergoline hasn't been tested yet. That clinical trial needs to happen. All four of these mechanisms are based on in vitro evidence, cell studies, and animal models. Human clinical trials in prolactinoma patients haven't been completed. That is a genuine limitation. But here's why it still matters. These findings are specific, not generic anti-cancer effects, but mechanisms that map directly onto what your tumor is doing. They've been replicated across multiple independent research groups, and the safety profile of curcumin is excellent, with decades of human use behind it. This is serious early-stage science. It is not a proven treatment. Remember that something else I mentioned? This is it, and it matters more than almost anything else in this video. Curcumin has a fundamental absorption problem. Taken alone, it's broken down in the gut before it reaches the bloodstream in meaningful amounts. In clinical studies, serum levels after a standard dose were either undetectable or extremely low. Piperine, the active compound in black pepper, blocks the enzymes responsible for that breakdown. The result is a 2000% increase in curcumin bioavailability. 20 times more curcumin reaches the bloodstream. Without piperine, almost none of what we've just covered is achievable. Therapeutic levels never reach the pituitary. This is the difference between an active compound and an expensive placebo. If piperine or bioperine isn't on the label, the bioavailability problem remains unsolved. Here's where this becomes practical. Look for a standardized curcumin extract, not turmeric powder, with at least 600 to 1,200 milligrams of curcuminoids per dose, combined with piperine or bioperine. Take it with your largest meal of the day. Curcumin is fat soluble, so dietary fat improves absorption on top of the piperine effect. If you're on other medications, it's worth checking for interactions before starting. Then tell your endocrinologist not to replace your cabergoline. That's not what this is. But because you've found peer-reviewed research on a compound with mechanisms specific to your tumor, an excellent safety profile, and early synergy evidence with dopamine agonist therapy. That is a conversation worth having. You are allowed to be an active participant in your own treatment. This is one way to do that. There are a lot of people with prolactinomas who've been told, take the medication, come back in 6 months, this is managed. And for many people, it is. But managed isn't the same as addressed. And the research on curcumin suggests there may be more you can do than you've been told. 4 mechanisms, multiple independent research groups, a safety profile backed by decades of human use, and a very clear direction for where the science needs to go next. It warrants your attention, and now you do. Every study referenced below with its PubMed ID, so you can go check the primary sources yourself.